all-knowing and all-powerful, starting with the elderly wolf uncle chapter 105. Before he started digging, he had already determined that there was no trace of anyone opening it here. Few one by one. Bruce on the side, although he didn't understand what Xianxia's move meant, out of trust in the latter, just exhaled a long breath, and also picked up the shovel and began to help. Catwoman behind the two looked at them strangely. Looking around the dark and quiet cemetery, she only felt that this mysterious oriental teenager was not normal. Catwoman didn't understand his move, but was shocked. However, in the midst of Xianxia's witchcraft, she still didn't dare to say anything. Sand one by one, sand by sand quickly. At night, in the dim and dark cemetery, Xianxia and Bruce were left. Wayne kept shoveling away layers of dirt. The shovel in his hand is constantly rubbing against the dirt. In this process, Xianxia has also been identifying whether there is anything special about these soils. However, nothing else was found. The soil from which the coffin was buried was also normal dirt, and it had been almost a month, and no one had touched it. Clang! Finally, the shovel in the hands of the two finally touched the coffin zero buried under the dirt. Bruce, Wayne glanced back at the tombstone, which in the black and white photo, Harvey Dent was expressionless, as if watching them. Chen, are you sure you want to open it? Does your witchcraft really use the corpses of dead people? He finally couldn't help but ask. Open it. Xianxia nodded, did not explain much, his eyes became more solemn. Okay, listen to you. When Bruce heard this, he didn't say more, took a deep breath and stretched out his hand towards the coffin lid. The wind blew through the night, and the lid of the coffin was slowly lifted. With the scene inside the coffin, little by little, Bruce Wayne was stunned. How so? He subconsciously took a step back, a little unable to believe the exclamation of his eyes. For a while, what Jessica had said before began to skim through his mind over and over again. The Catwoman next to her couldn't help but be curious and came up, and as a result, she also squinted her eyes slightly, and her eyes flickered. Belongs to Harvey Dante. The buried coffin was empty. Knife. Chapter 81. Arkham on fire. Gotham City caught in riot. It's like under a dark night sky. In the gloomy cemetery, weak moonlight spilled into the garden, covering everything with a shallow silver veil. The surrounding air is extremely humid. The wind that is about to enter winter is blowing, the cold is intimidating, and everything is silent. Harvey. In front of Dent's grave, Bruce Wayne's heavy gasp became more pronounced. His pupils vibrate, and he immediately reacted when he looked at the empty coffin in front of him. Harvey Dent is not dead. The corpse that should have been buried was gone. That's not right. Then, Catwoman's pretty face suddenly became serious. Although I also feel that the scene in front of me is extremely strange, I can wander in the shadows of Gotham for so many years, and naturally have the courage and heart beyond ordinary people. She squinted and leaned down, reaching out to grab a little of Xianxia and Bruce. Wayne shoveled the dirt. The slender white fingers rubbed it delicately, and then put it on the tip of his nose to smell lightly. This dirt has not been excavated for a long time, at least for a month. Catwoman raised her eyes that were usually full of charm, but at the moment appeared serious, that is, when the coffin is buried. Harvey Dent was no longer lying in the coffin. Quote, he was not buried. As soon as she said this, she was immediately met by Bruce Wayne's objection. Impossible. He wrinkled his brows and muttered, I saw Harvey with my own eyes. Dante's death, when he lost his breath right in front of my eyes and stopped his heartbeat, how could he still be alive? Bruce, when Wayne said this, his tone was very determined. For a person who has personally watched the loss of vital signs, it is naturally difficult for him to believe that the other party is actually alive. Catwoman Selina heard the other party's rebuttal and didn't say more. Glancing at the empty coffin, he narrowed his eyes slightly, walked up to the 317 section inside the coffin and leaned over to check it. All the silk cloths inside were very neat, and there was no trace of heavy objects pressing. She slowly closed the distance, her eyes carefully observed. And she opened her mouth to explain the information she had collected. Saying that, the tall nose also sniffed gently. And there is no odor, not even the smell that other people have touched. At this point, Catwoman straightened up and looked at Bruce Wayne. At least it's certain that this coffin never contained any bodies. Quote, whether it was opened or not even before the burial was a question. Then, she turned her gaze to Chen, I would like to hear what kind of opinion you have on this matter. Quote, although Catwoman and Chen have already made trouble with each other several times. But it is undeniable that when dealing with the Riddler before, this guy showed super high detection ability. For this, Catwoman Selina is still convinced. Bruce, who has the same understanding of Chen, Wayne, too, looked at him with an expectant expression. Yet the next second, Chen brows frowned, and then he slowly spoke, and his answer was unexpected. Harvey Dent was already dead, except that the body was not buried in a coffin. This statement came out. Whether it's Bruce Wayne, or Catwoman Selina, both had puzzled and surprised expressions on their faces at the same time. The body that should have appeared in the coffin, but now disappeared, and all the Harvey in Jessica's mouth. Dante, who will it be? Bruce Wayne then questioned with a strong question. In fact, just now he has already somewhat accepted Catwoman's statement. After all, a body was not brought for burial, did not appear in the coffin that should have appeared. Exclude a very small number of people who have a special proclivity for corpses. There is only one possibility left. That is, he is not dead at all. Otherwise Jessica versus Harvey. How could Dante's feelings not complete the funeral for his brother after his death? So, Bruce Wayne questioned Chen when he said his analysis. Harvey in Jessica's mouth. Who exactly is Dante? The answer is simple, that's herself. Chen Tian's expression was calm, and his tone did not have any ups and downs, because he was just telling the truth. As for the missing corpse inside the coffin, I should be clear, Harvey Dent was not buried at all. His body has never been put in a coffin. He continued slowly. Bruce. After Wayne heard Chen Tian say this, the expression on his face suddenly became gloomy, and his eyes flickered. Of course, he could understand what Chen Tian was trying to say. If the other party's statement is correct, it means Harvey in Jessica's mouth. Dent simply does not exist. In the same way, she has been saying in the near future that Harvey Dent will create panic and chaos in the entire Gotham area, which is likely to be planned by Jessica herself. For this case, Bruce Wayne wouldn't believe it at all. He felt from the bottom of his heart that Jessica, who had always been kind by nature, a woman he loved so much, would do such a thing. As the mind progresses, Bruce Wayne's gaze became more and more gloomy, and a pair of eyes seemed to turn into a deep swamp. Bruce, that's the truth of the matter, believe it or not. Chen Tian to Bruce Wayne's questioning was not taken to heart at all. He can feel the emotions in the other party's heart, and this situation can only be said to be concerned and chaotic. After all, during this period, the still young Batman suffered too little. It is also normal to be unable to accept the woman you loved for a while and degenerate into an evil riot instigator. And, you don't mean tonight, Harvey? Is Dent going to riot in Gotham? Chen Tian immediately added, just look at it in the past.